Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Echuca, Australia. We currently conduct these streams on Monday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hi and welcome to MELfeed.video for Monday the 14th of January 2019. Shortly we're heading into NAT Chat and then NAT Chat migration stories. This is the last episode of that series. Harmony University at 9 o'clock. Red Lobster Poetry comes up at 9:30, and then 15 fabulous minutes with Jacqueline and Steve, and then a special episode of Transports of Distant Delight just for MELfeed at 10:30, and at 10:45 we're closing for the night. I'll be back a bit later, but until then we'll head into NAT Chat.
Welcome to NAT Chat. My name is Paul Spanos, and today we have an interview with Kelly Leeds, as he is a registered migration agent. The topic today, Kelly, welcome first of all into our program, and our topic today, our discussion will focus into student visas. I see it is quite popular, but at the same time, let's go around it to find out the reasons that visa exists, first of all.
Okay.
And we take it from there. Okay, as immigration, why we have those student visas, the purpose for it.
The student visa program, we could very frankly say it is a way that we export Australian education. The education that we have in Australia is high level, so we are making it available to the rest of the world. However, people that do wish to study in Australia have to meet certain requirements to be able to obtain a student visa.
Okay, when we say requirements, means from a certain level they can come as a student visa?
International courses, because not all courses are available to international students.
Okay.
They have to be licensed and registered.
Okay.
It's what we call the CRICOS or CRICOS system. So schools, education providers do get registered. Their courses are checked according to the legislation that this whole procedure runs on and the program runs on. And then the courses that they wish to offer to international students also have to follow certain requirements and meet certain requirements.
On the list of the immigration, then, we have certain schools and certain courses.
Correct.
Isn't it?
Correct.
That means I have to go through those ones before I even apply.
Well, you have to actually find the education provider that suits your needs, find the course that the education provider gives you that suits what you want to achieve. Okay. And you actually have to enroll before you apply for the visa.
How does this work?
Well, it's very simple. Okay.
If I enroll, then
okay, all right.
They might not approve.
It's what we call the initial enrolment. Okay, does not mean that you have started attending the school, especially if you're overseas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happens is you go to a school, you put in an application, you state what you wish to study with them. You usually have a discussion with the school. So you put in your application, they check your CV, they check your English level, and they send you back a letter of offer as to what you should study. Now, the school believes that your English isn't at the level it should be, but your previous studies or experience shows that you can follow the specific course. They will offer you, not all schools, but most of them do have it, they can offer you an in-between, a preliminary English course that's part of your total course. But it's different to coming and studying English. That's a different visa.
Okay, that means the school in itself, a university, for example, has its own criteria.
That's right. The school
in relation
decides,
to the level of English.
Yeah, the school decides if they're going to accept you.
Okay.
So once the school has given you the letter of offer, your next step is to do an initial enrolment, which usually means paying a deposit with the school against your fees.
Is this subject to acceptance from immigration?
Immigration will not accept your application for a visa, not refuse it or grant it. They will not accept it. It will be invalid if you don't have a certificate of enrolment.
Okay.
So it's a compulsory step before you can actually apply for your student visa. Okay, so the first step to do is to look at what there is for you to study.
Okay.
And how is that going to assist you in your future in building up your career? Because you also have to present all these things to immigration.
Then what is the possibility for immigration to decline my application? Obviously, has to be a very strong reason to decline my application if the school already has accepted me.
If immigration believes that your reason for applying for a student visa is not actually your studying, is one reason they will refuse you.
All right.
The other reason is if immigration concludes that you don't meet the very important part of a student visa application, the genuine temporary entrant criteria, which means the incentives that you have to return back to your home country as compared to the incentives to stay on in Australia, the first ones should be stronger.
Okay, isn't it a little bit intrusive somebody to ask me to come to Australia and then to ask my intentions when I just apply for a course?
Well, why do you want to do the course?
Well, I suppose to improve my qualifications.
Okay, that's a reason.
Yeah.
That's your intention.
Yeah.
But why do you want to improve your qualifications?
Obviously, if I want to study as an engineer or something, or even as an economist, I would like to come to one of the Australian universities.
Okay, so you believe the Australian university is going to offer you a lot more knowledge and a lot more qualifications to be able to proceed in your career. That's your intention.
Yeah.
So what's difficult in that?
All right. Okay, that's fine. So
in that specific example that you used.
But we're saying now that the immigration really, as long as has a clear view that that's your intention for studying.
That's right. If you apply to come and study English in Australia and your work for the past 15, 20 years has been in a profession where English is definitely not required for any reason, and you say, I want this so I can improve myself at work, well, somewhere that doesn't fit.
Yes, that's right. So immigration has a way of identifying in case that what you say in your application doesn't match with your life.
They do. They look at your employment history, your study history. They look at a lot of factors that you need to present through that application. Okay, and they're becoming a lot more strict on actually obtaining information against those factors.
And we're going to continue our conversation discussing how people might mistreat those visas or misunderstand the use of this visa. Okay, thank you for being with us. We'll come back after the short break. Thank you for staying with us.
One in 5 of us are affected.
10% of us will have at least one.
And the numbers double for Indigenous Australians.
Just as quick as a click of your fingers, it can happen to anyone at any time.
What would you do if someone close to you was having a seizure?
Imagine if it was your child.
My brother has it. My sister has it.
I have it.
I have it too.
You're not alone.
You're not different.
And you have a bright future ahead of you.
So click for kids.
I'm Amy Lee, and I'm part of it.
This bank is helping to save lives. Every year, 500,000 Victorians have no idea where their next meal is coming from. Food Bank Victoria works with farmers, supermarkets and manufacturers to make sure their surplus stock ends up here to be distributed to those in need. But all of this is not enough. Right now, this bank needs interest, your interest, to support Victorians in need. If you can help, visit foodbankvictoria.org.au.
Hi, I'm Darren McElwain from Air FM Drive. You can tune into my show from 3 to 6 p.m. on 88.0 in Penrith and also on tunein.com. And apparently, we don't throw rocks. Air FM Drive. Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy.
Welcome back in our topic today with the student visa, and with us we have Kelly Leeds, and thank you for being with us, Kelly. And Kelly is a registered migration agent in Auckland in Melbourne, and give us a little bit of light, if you like, how student visa is very, very popular and sometimes misused.
Oh, some misused. Yes, it is. Popular. Look, we do have an excellent education system in Australia. So Australian qualifications are highly regarded. So people do tend to come to our universities in order to either participate in further research, obtain better knowledge, higher skills, and so forth. So yes, it is a popular destination for studies. Misuse, I'd say maybe it's not misuse, but mainly people being misinformed about it.
Okay.
A student visa is not a migration visa. You don't migrate to study.
Okay.
You temporarily enter a country. You are given the permission to do that in order to come to this country to study, pick up your qualifications, and then go back home or wherever you want to continue your career.
In other words, the immigration I view of the student visa is not immigration visa, it's not migration visa.
Not part of that 190,000 migrants that have come into Australia a year.
Okay. So it is completely irrelevant to this.
Yes, you can say it's a visitor visa, but with extra conditions and a longer term.
Okay. And what sort of cost we're talking about? If everything, if I do not have any problem with my paperwork and I'm accepted, what sort of cost we're talking about?
The first cost you have to look at is your actual education costs, because you're obliged to be paying your fees, because if it gets reported that you're delaying your fees, you can get your visa cancelled. You are obliged to be participating at least 80%, so no more than 20% absences, otherwise your visa can be cancelled. So the first thing you have to look at is the course. Okay, and that you can actually afford to be at that course. Courses can start, yes, there are some courses for English learning, which can start around the $8,000 mark.
English courses, we're talking about English
learning
language. Learning English.
There's 5 types of student visas.
Okay.
There's English learning, there's vocational learning, then there's university studies, and then we start going to the PhD, and then there's some special ones with AusAid and so forth. Okay. So when you put in an application, the officer that takes your application actually assesses you against all of those visas and sees which ones you fit in. Okay, so you don't have to actually know which one you're going for.
That's right.
There are also student visas for high school students. People can come here and study high school as well. So it starts from the very first go.
Do I need to prove that I'm able to survive in that?
You have to prove. So you have to have your fees, your education fees. You have to have living expenses. These are actually set by law, and that's $18,000.
All right.
for the first year that you're here. Okay.
All right.
So if there's a spouse and children, that gets, of course, increased.
Paid up.
Okay. If you do have children, aged between 5 and 18 coming with you, you are obliged to have them enrolled in the school. So you've got those fees, and they range from primary school to the end of high school from about $7,500 to about $11,000.
That adds up, isn't
a year.
it? Okay.
It does. Keep in mind also that as a student, and especially up to the lower levels of
education
of studies,
That's right.
you are only allowed 40 hours a fortnight of work.
Okay.
So people don't get it confused, 20 hours per week, but it's actually calculated over the fortnight.
Can this be checked out by the immigration?
Well, if you're working legally,
Yes.
yes. Immigration and taxation have a common barrel of information.
Okay.
They actually announced that, and they made a big show about it a couple of years ago, so people should be aware of it. Unfortunately, people have been caught out sometimes in that, they may be working more than that 20 hours. Legally, they're paying their taxes on it,
Yes.
but then immigration gets access to the database, and they say, wait, hang on a minute, why are you working 30 hours? You're only supposed to work 20. So that can lead to cancellation. Cancellation can lead you being removed from the country, and it can lead to you actually getting a ban too, and having difficulty with future visas.
That means the immigration can follow the financial sort of status or my employment status. Can they follow my education status?
Yes.
They
There
do
is a
follow
system called PRISM,
Okay.
which is a common system between the Education Department and the Immigration Department. All registered education providers who provide studies for international students are obliged in there to note every enrolment that they make, every time a student stops from a course and goes to another course, change of address of the student, if the absences the student has had, and the updating of the fees that your student has paid.
The educational institution has an extra administrative work reporting about.
They do, but they're actually licensed and registered to be able to offer. Not all education providers can offer studies, and plus an education provider may have 50 different courses, and they may only be registered and licensed to provide 2 of those to international students. Even in high schools, there are certain high schools who are not registered and cannot accept high school students, international students.
Do we have different levels of acceptance of student visas?
Oh, we do. Assessment, we call it, not acceptance. It's what we call AL1, which is assessment level 1, 2 and 3. The 4 and 5 used to be there, they're gone. We got rid of those. Level 1 is basically, you could say, countries of the EU and the countries that are with the European Community, USA, Canada.
Okay. We need to take a break, and we're going to continue with those levels after the break. Thank you for staying with us. It's a very, very interesting topic. We're going to continue about student visa in Australia.
Are you playing renovation roulette? I'm John Jarrett.
Now I know that deadly asbestos lies hidden in 1/3 of Aussie homes.
It can be found in any home built or renovated before 1987. Lurking in walls, under floor covering, behind tiles, in roofing. Asbestos. It was used everywhere. So if you're a renovator or a tradie, you could be risking your life and the lives of others. Remember, go slow. Asbestos, it's a no-go. Visit asbestosawareness.com.au to learn what you need to know.
Australian women need to kiss more. Watch out for persistent and unusual symptoms, as they could be a sign of ovarian cancer. Know the important signs and symptoms. Kiss. Look out for symptoms like abdominal or back pain, difficulty eating or feeling full quickly, or persistent bloating, or a change in toilet habits. If you're experiencing persistent and unusual symptoms for more than 14 days, see a GP. Make sure you kiss regularly.
The thing I love about Australia is our spirit of mateship and togetherness, and whether it's a drought, a flood or a bushfire, when times are tough, Australians stick together. Well, I'll be spending Australia Day at Tamworth with 40,000 country music mates. It brings people together to celebrate our music and our great country.
Get together on Australia Day. Go to australiaday.org.au to find out how.
Tick, 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 fashion.
Tick, 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 fun.
Tick, 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 food.
Tick, 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 festivals.
All make up 15 fabulous minutes.
In a half-hour special.
Presented to you by Jacqueline and Steve.
Every week. Time's up.
Welcome back to the topic of the day about the student's visa in Australia. We are to the point discussing the levels of assessment, and we did say that the level 1 is the easiest one with less screening, but there are the 2 levels. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. What we should explain is that levels are according to the risk of the country. So the higher the risk, the higher the number of the level. And the risk is weighed against if there is high incentive for people to not go back to that country they came from, or there's a high movement out of the country, so there'd be an incentive for them to move out and not go back. So they look at country factors in order to set low and high risk countries. So we covered the 1 level earlier. Level 2 and 3 are countries with a higher risk, with 3 being the highest risk. We used to have a 4 and 5. We got rid of those levels. We actually had the 5 empty.
All right.
Anyway, so what happens is they actually are very much more strict on the assessments. Okay, so while a level 1 needs to declare certain things, a level 2 needs to actually evidence them and show them with their application.
Okay, declaration is not enough.
No, but pointing out, even with level 1, where there is a declaration, immigration can certainly come back and say, I want evidence.
That's right, but they don't have to. Only if they sort of,
So with if we go on then to level 3, now the list of countries is very long on all levels, so somebody can get onto the immigration site and check out where their country is. And it counts as far as the passport is concerned, not where you're living. So if you do have 2 passports, and one is a level 2 and the other is a level 1, I recommend you use the level 1 passport to enter Australia.
Okay, that's a good recommendation.
So level 3, for example, have got restrictions on what they can study as well. They can't study more than 50 weeks of an English course. So they're coming here to study English, while a level 1 student may do 2 years course of English, go through all the different levels. Somebody from a level 3 country can only do 50 weeks under that visa. When it comes to doing other vocational studies, they have to have an IELTS certificate for their English. While in other cases, the university judges the English. Now, level 3 and level 2 can become level 1s for specific courses, and we're talking about university degrees. So if somebody from a level 3 country wishes to enter into a university degree studies, they actually start being assessed as a level 1, but that is up to the university. So the university has accepted the student. They have gone through that process that immigration would otherwise go through to determine their qualifications, their background and so forth. And the university says, I am enrolling the student because they are strong enough to follow my course. Then their visa application is assessed as a level 1.
So immigration in itself sort of is looking more for the university level sort of students, make it a little bit easier for them.
Yes. Well, they are more expensive courses, so it's a lot more difficult for people to misuse, in inverted commas.
That is correct.
The important thing to note is that there was at a certain time people were enrolling into universities, so they would get a level 1 assessment and then diverting to a diploma or a certificate. Well, guess what? They now cancel your visa if you do that. So that doesn't happen anymore.
Okay, that's all right. On the okay, as a student now, what or if there are any opportunities that Australia can give me as a graduate, if I finish my course, if I finish my 4 years degree, or my master's, or whatever the level, do you have any opportunities of work experience or extend my visa, or how that works?
There is a visa program which I would call the extension or the follow-up of the student visa program. That you could even combine them into one. Purpose of the student visa program is for you to obtain qualifications to proceed into a career.
Yes.
Now, proceeding into a career also requires that you start getting work experience, because just your certificate won't get you far.
Correct.
So, taking the student visa program and then the temporary graduate program, visa program, that combines the two, because it says you have come to Australia, you have completed studies, you have obtained qualifications. I will now give you the opportunity to be able to work in Australia for 18 months to 4 years. It all depends on what you studied.
That's a fair sort of amount of time.
Yes, I would say, like the most common, the 18-month one, because the 2 years is completing university studies.
Yes.
It does give you that chance of getting work experience. So they're saying, you studied, you got your qualifications, your diploma, now get some work experience in the market, and then you can go back home with both.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're a fully qualified professional.
Yes.
What needs that, however, there are criteria. That's not an automatic thing. Okay?
Yes.
So first thing that you have to cover is that your course, your relative to the nominated occupation you're going to state, has to be a minimum of 92 weeks. So I can't do, for example, 30 weeks of English and 62 weeks of motor mechanic and say, okay, now qualify for that. You don't.
Yes.
It has to be 92 weeks on the actual occupation.
Now, how good, from the other side of the coin, how good Australia is to motivate skillful people remain in Australia and help here?
Well, look, we've got to look at, big enterprises, okay, and even smaller companies sometimes, who do need university graduates, do look into the universities and the students, and just like they assess the possibility of employing or bringing into their company an Australian student, they do look at international students as well. So yes, offers have been made to international students who are completing degrees. It could be just normal bachelor degrees, it could be masters, because it's of interest to the specific company, the expertise that they've got. So yes, it can lead you into a skilled migration.
So the migration is not going to prevent that happening.
Well, immigration, you still have to meet the requirements of a visa application. Okay? Nothing is automatic in visas.
Yes.
People make that mistake. They think I'm going to study for 92 weeks and I'm automatically going to get 18 months. It doesn't happen. You have to have 6 in IELTS.
Yes.
You have to nominate an occupation that's on the list. So there's a lot of things you need to meet.
Well, that's why we have the registered immigration agents, isn't it?
That's why we try and help people.
Kelly, thanks for being with us. It was excellent to have you. This is the 3rd program that we have together, and I think we're going to run at least one more on this subject. And thank you for giving us an insight of the student visa today. We're going to be back with NAT Chat next week at the same time. Thank you for staying with us.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
This repeat episode of NAT Chat Migration Stories is presented as a tribute to its host, Richard Micallef, who sadly passed away this last year.
Welcome viewers, thanks for tuning in to NAT Chat Migration Stories with Rich Micallef today, but my guest, Wiley Miller.
Yeah,
thank you.
Hey, man.
Thanks for coming here.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
To our wonderful community TV studios.
Yeah, pleasure
but we
to
want
be
to
here,
find out about your migration story, or your story in coming to Australia. So maybe we can start where you were born in the USA?
Yes, I came from a place called Toledo, Ohio,
in
the USA. It's kind of they call it the Midwest, but if you look at it on the map, it looks more like Mid-East.
Okay, and it's up towards the Great Lakes?
Yeah, just very near the Great Lakes.
So
30
you had
minutes
the Great
from
Lakes?
Detroit. Yeah, 30 minutes from Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Lake
I've always
Erie.
wondered about those lakes. Do people visit the lakes, go swimming, sailing and all
No,
that?
it would be just like anyone going to the ocean.
Oh, really?
You know, going to get a swim and a dip and a chill and cool off.
So, generally, what was your childhood like? I mean, there's many tough times.
Well,
also good times?
There were both.
Okay.
My mother and father didn't get married as such, but they stayed in contact with one another. Early on, I stayed with my mother and eventually moved to the city, long story short. And when I came to the city, I stayed with my father for a few years. And then my mother moved back into the city and I began to stay with her again. And she lived in these apartments called the Albertus Browns. In the particular area that we were, this was the hood.
Right,
this was the hood. This is where the project buildings were. Wow. So there was the Albertus Browns, there was the Brandwood Locks, and the Port Lawrence homes in that immediate little area. The McClinton Nuns was another apartment building complex.
As you said, I think at the time it was called sort of projects, eh?
Yeah.
So there would have been quite a few people there, very overcrowded, or? And what other,
No, it was 99% black.
Okay.
Back then, 99% black neighborhood. Wow. In fact, that was the side of town that, if you wasn't tough and rough, then you don't come over there. You don't be visited. You don't be strolling through the neighborhood. It was kind of like that.
Into, such a strong man, such a happy man. I've got written down here, your passport is your smile, because that's when I met you.
Yeah.
But it's built character, hey?
Yeah, well, as it turns out, there's a lot of good things to learn in the neighborhood, the ghetto, as you could call it. You definitely learn how to survive. And the thing that I learned there is that if you can survive there, you can survive anywhere, because it's the same principle.
So that gives perhaps a person a sense of confidence. Hey,
oh yeah.
I'm anywhere.
Yeah. And you learn how to survive anywhere you go based on the principles and the things that you've learned there.
But not just survive, also an
move forward. Yeah.
Up vibe. You keep the up vibe. Hey?
Well, the music side of me had a lot to do with that, and it wasn't until later years that I began to find out I had a capacity to do poetry and comedy as well.
Yes.
So when you put the three together, it definitely is a ticket to a better way of life.
I might mention then, of course, you're known as a musician in town. I reckon you're well known. And you've run the Grand Wazoo Artist.
Yeah.
That's a big band.
Yeah, 13-piece soul band.
13-piece, yeah. And I think a big band, pretty well running for a long time. One of the first big bands.
One of the first soul bands. Hey? Been established since 1982. So,
unbelievable.
Yeah, 36 years. A long time running and still going.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on to some music then. What would be your music styles that influence you then?
Definitely the early R&B artists, like the Motown, Stevie Wonders, the Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament, Funkadelic.
Okay.
Yeah, that era of music,
like
Commodores. Well, George Clinton is a friend of mine.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, no, actually.
Oh, now we're a bit starstruck. But
yeah.
I particularly like heaps of music. However, Funkadelic, it's too busy. But then you're a very high-level musician too. Mm-hmm. So congratulations on all that. You're a music producer as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how's Melbourne been for the music?
Absolutely love it. I have traveled around a bit to a lot of the other states in Australia, and I see Melbourne is definitely the mecca of entertainment.
You heard it from an international.
Yeah, definitely. Hands down, there's really no other competition.
Right.
As far as
well,
enough entertainment to go around. You know, Melbourne has a lot of it in abundance.
I think I did a bit of an analysis, and I think we have something like 6,000 performing artists and 2,000 venues.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, well, I know it's far above and beyond what the other states have.
And Sydney, only 2.
Yes.
Anyway.
Sydney, there's no comparison. The only thing that I found that Perth has their own setup. They're totally not connected with the other states. They have their own world out there. So
you've toured a lot in Australia too.
Yes, I have.
With music. So what are your impressions of sort of our music scene, Aussie music and things like that? Does it have a place in the world music stage?
Well, absolutely. My, I guess you could say, biggest peeve is that you guys missed out a lot of the soul music that came up through the 70s and the 80s. Yes. And it's because you were basically a rock and roll based type of format. Yep. So you missed a lot of good music that was being produced in America during those times. You missed a lot of the really key artists.
I'm going to make you cry in a minute. I was a kid. I went down to the beach because parents holidaying in Dramana. 3XY, a popular radio station, was there doing an OB, and they started giving away records, throwing them out. Wow, I thought. And I went and picked up some singles. Right. You wouldn't believe it. Ooh. James Brown, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, and a few others. And I took these home, and I'd never heard such music before. But that shows you that the radio station had been receiving the records, but they gave them away as free.
Yeah, man.
I guess it was a rock and roll.
Yeah. James Brown was a bit of a legend. I was actually surprised because when James Brown, the last few times that he came, I actually was in the right position to meet him and hang out with him. Yeah. And I was really surprised after he passed that, and I had the pictures, there were so many people that didn't actually know who James Brown was.
Unbelievable.
I couldn't believe the James
Wiley,
Brown.
We'll have to have a little break, and we'll find out more about Wiley Miller and James Brown and the rest later.
This repeat episode of NAT Chat Migration Stories is presented as a tribute to its host, Richard MELfeed, who sadly passed away this last year.
We've all seen this one time or another. We may even have done it ourselves. But inhaling balloon gas is very dangerous and can be fatal. The helium in balloon gas acts as an asphyxiant, and when you inhale, it displaces the oxygen in your lungs. Balloon gas is safe in balloons and when you release it in a well-ventilated area and in a safe manner. So the next time you see some sucker about to inhale balloon gas, or you think it's going to be a laugh, stop and be gas-wise.
Statistics show 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually assaulted before their 18th birthday. Help break the silence on child sexual assault. Go to bravehearts.org.au.
Hi, I'm Lane Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets. and they'll be turned into new products from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetark.org.
It's barbie season, so it's time for a barbecue safety check. Clean away any grease buildup. Swap systems assure that the bottle inspection is in date. The bottle should be upright and not hanging by the hose. And make sure your regulator and hose is undamaged, unblocked and unkinked. Check connections using soapy water. When done, turn off clockwise at the bottle first. A quick barbie and gas safety check always means a safe and enjoyable summer.
Welcome back, viewers, to Migration Stories. We're here with Wiley Miller. So you were hanging with James Brown and all the gang, hey? But Australia missed out on the soul music a lot.
Well, they seem to have missed over this era, which was very important in the USA to bring you up to where the music is now.
Catching up now.
Yeah. It's a lot of it came from those days and those eras of music.
Yeah.
A lot of the tracks that people are singing over now, and a lot of the music came from that era, and they just redoing it, rehashing
So when
it.
you think back and you have memories, and here you are in Australia, what memories of your childhood might you?
Well,
is there anything you miss or? Yeah.
Well, first of all, the place that I came from, Toledo, Ohio, they actually is a kind of a northeast kind of a place. So
Okay.
they actually have 4 seasons. They get the spring, the summer, the winter, and the fall. And I was never a fan of the winter.
No.
And you could keep the fall as well. But yeah, I like the spring and the summer.
Okay.
And from those early days, I realized that, I probably wasn't going to be living in this region because I just didn't like the 4 seasons,
Yeah.
But unbeknownst to me, the journey.
Yes, the journey. Tell us.
Yeah, the journey that came along that brought me here. Well, it was the birth of my second son that made me come to Australia. I had another one in the USA, and I was in the military when he was young. So that being that time away, I didn't get to see him grow up in that.
Yeah.
So by the time this one came along, I had already done a bit of traveling, and
that was out of the system,
and so
as it were.
so then as it turned out, I decided it's going to be a better thing to come to Australia.
Okay.
So I agreed to come to Australia, and then when I got here, it seemed to be another connection because I then met some indigenous people.
Yes.
Up in the Northern Territory, up in Doomadgee.
Yes.
In fact, I met a guy named Alec Doomadgee who went on to become my Makandu, my skin brother, because I was fortunate enough to meet the elders and attend ceremony. And so as I sit there around the campfire talking to the bush elders, realizing that
they gave you a skin name and adopted you.
Yes, skin name and all this, adopted me into the clan.
You went to a bush ceremony yourself?
Yeah, several of them.
Congratulations.
I have been fortunate enough to go up and spend like 8 weeks in the bush with the elders and learn about the culture.
Yeah.
And it was funny to me because I was wondering, how did this happen? When did this come in? And I remembered back to my early days, like in the 6th grade, back in the time when Michael Jackson and Prince pretty much became household names, And I was thinking, how come I didn't get that? How come, because I was a musician at that time, and I was like, I did it, I did it. And instead, I was in school, and it was like something spiritual happened. Because when I said this, as it turned out that next day I went to school and we were making boomerangs. And I'm like, where do boomerangs come from? And it's like, Australia. And I'm like, but where is that? Us. And I'm thinking, how are we in the hood making boomerangs? That don't even make sense,
Wow.
But
it opened your mind.
It opened my mind. It opened my mind that there was other potentials and other things that were going to come later on in life.
Yes.
And that was...
So that was a curiosity spark.
That was
there.
a moment that made me go,
No, but I remember bumping into you at a gig and enjoying your show or something and coming up and talking. And I had been working in Alice Springs.
Yep.
And I said, gee, you want to go and check out the top end or the Northern Territory. And then I didn't see you for a while, and then like a year later I saw you, and you'd actually gone and you did all that, which is pretty phenomenal, because I meet a lot of musicians. Everyone wants to go to the Territory to find out. You're one of the only ones who did. And you stayed there for a while, hey?
Well, I commuted back and forth because then...
And you started teaching the kids?
Well,
and
that's what
everything?
happened. I then went up and I met a guy named Jim and Lorraine.
Okay.
And they had a place called Cadillac Ranch.
And near Rumangini or where?
No, it was in Brisbane area.
Oh, yes. Logan City, yep.
Yeah, I can't think of the actual name, but it was called Cadillac Ranch.
Okay.
And I met them, and Alec Dumagy, who was my skin brother then, he was working at the radio station, local radio station there.
Gotcha.
And I went into the station and I met them. And it was a strange conversation that we had, but as it turned out, they were telling me about some of the things they were doing with the community to inspire youth in that. So they asked me if I'd like to come along.
Wow.
And so I did go along. And, you know, they just asked me to say something to the kids.
Right.
And I just spoke off the top of my head and from my heart. And at the end of the show, they came backstage and the parents were crying and the kids were crying and saying, thank you for saying this. And so I decided then that, maybe I can do some youth work, and so then I got into it, and I got up with a group called White Lion here in Victoria, and they began to train me in this NLP, neuro-linguistic programming techniques. Them a lady named Carol Fox, who was running the program.
Okay.
And through that, I began to get a background in working with youth, and so I began to put a youth program together, and through working with them, learning the pros and cons of how to make it work, it turned out to be a very good thing.
Yes.
And as it turned out, I began to work with a lot of the artists from the USA that were coming here and bringing the youth to their show.
Excellent.
Now, the youth came to the show after they went through a few seminars, and that was like the reward.
Yes.
And this turned out to work very good.
Worked very well, did it?
I got to tell you, Beyonce, Snoop Dogg, Stevie Wonder, these were three main people that actually gave me tickets to bring the kids to the shows. And that went on to take me to where I'm at now.
Wow. And that was a lot of that for Indigenous kids.
For the Indigenous kids. Well, it was right across the board. It was right across the board.
But from that first talk, you grabbed them, eh? They were inspired by you. Because they're looking at a man who's a musician, but more, and everything. Yeah. A great role model. And you knew it worked because there was demand.
Yeah, well, that was the magic when you see it happen. When you can inspire someone to actually go towards a better lifestyle, and it makes you go toward a better lifestyle.
For sure.
And that helps the community. And once you help the community, it gets better, then the city gets better, and so on and so forth. So,
Wiley. We'll have to come back after the break and find out a little more.
Sure.
Stick around. Come back after these announcements.
If you were living on the streets, wouldn't you want more than just your best friend to keep you safe, warm and dry? Donate to Backpack Bed for Homeless and give warm, waterproof protection and dignity tonight. Call 1300 OzHelp.
Locals here made the shocking discovery this morning. Police have sealed off the entire beach.
There is a killer. One of the worst killers in Australia. Skin cancer. Every year, skin cancer kills over 1,700 Australians. Don't be a victim. This summer, protect yourself against skin cancer.
Juggling work and caring for mum can be overwhelming. Having an understanding employer and access to support helps. I love my mum. I just wish I had some time to myself.
If you choose to speed,
You could ruin lives.
someone else's, your family's, or your own,
Choose not to instead.
the right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
No one knows what to say. I try and treat him the same as I always have.
He didn't want to give up. He just couldn't.
Caring for Catherine was tough, but when I look back, it was the best thing we ever did together.
It's hard to know how to talk about dying. These people know. If you need to know how, visit lifeanddeath.org.au and join the conversation.
Welcome back. We're with Wiley Miller. So, Wiley, so the kids were very motivated to do music workshops with you and that, hey?
Yeah, well, it goes right across the board. I mean, you can inspire kids with music, and it's just a matter of...
I think you have to be really good musician like you. Like, I might just mention this, like, pretty top, like, you know, triple A.
Yeah, thank you.
And you run the band and produce as well. But what happened with some of these groups recently?
Well, recently, my skin brother, Alec Dumagy, is working with one of the mining companies. And this mining company opened up an opportunity that I would be able to take some kids over to the USA to attend my good friend, bass extraordinaire, Victor Wooten.
Okay.
Yeah. Wooten Woods. It's a musical camp. He's a 6-time Grammy winner.
What state is that in?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he has a camp that, for the most part, it's about music, different facets of music.
Wow.
Because he is a 6-time Grammy winner on the bass guitar, it's primarily about the bass. There's a lot of bass influence in that. But the camp that we actually went to was about songwriting. So there were people from across the states, actually from around the world, that attended this camp. It was probably about 60 altogether at the camp. And wow, every day was unbelievable.
Really?
Unbelievable. Just before every meal, they had a show, a performance. And man, just unbelievable. But in in the particular camp that I went, there was a comedian that came along by the name of Sinbad, and he's actually coming to Australia next year to perform in the International Comedy Festival.
Okay.
I hope, and my desire is to be in that show in some way, some fashion, because I've paid some dues as a comedian, and I would love to work with him. I told him about the things that I did with the kids. In fact, he got to meet the youth that I took over with me.
And that camp over there in
Nashville. To the camp. Nashville. The way that it worked out, it was supposed to be like maybe 6 to 8 kids.
Right.
But in the end, it was just one, me and one other kid. Well, it turned out better for us that it was that way, because there was a lot of costs that were incurred that we were not prepared for.
Just on that, did some kids drop off on the way?
No. What happened, there was a problem getting the passports and stuff ready in time, because the money, the finances came through kind of late towards the end, and we didn't have enough time to get all the paperwork and everything done.
Isn't it always the case? Perhaps a little bit of help from government would have just made a much better outcome.
That's what's going to happen now, because as you say that, just the other day I happened to be in the city.
Yes.
And I met Mayor Doyle.
Okay.
And I talked to him about the last time when I met with him.
Excellent.
And had the kids, and he's keen. So
you're going to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Hopefully to
because really, in a lot of ways, governments and that they don't understand music development or even youth development very much. And there's a hell of a lot of activity. But at the end of the day, you just need these few dollars and then it multiplies it out. Hey?
Yes, exactly.
So it kind of was a missed opportunity, but it's not, because you can build on it.
Yes, exactly.
What a brilliant outcome.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
So anyway, how many musical acts do you do? And, comedic acts, what's the name of them if people want to see them?
I am the lead vocalist and frontman for the Grand Wazoo.
So that's happening all the time?
Yeah, that's happening all the time.
You got a residency going on next year?
Oh, we're pretty much...
You're just out and about?
Yeah, pretty much out and about.
And when you're a comedian, you're Wiley Miller, are you?
Yeah. I could just show up anywhere. I have few characters I have taken to the street. performance.
I think it's going to be a free-for-all comedy now with American politics too.
Oh,
You're going to have an open ticket now.
That's another story. That's another story.
But here you are in Australia.
Yes.
You happy about that?
Very happy.
Thank you for being here as one of us. And
yeah.
your son's here.
Yeah, well, that's like
and
the main
I've
influence.
noticed he plays for the Gold Coast.
Yes, the Gold Coast.
Real
Suns.
football.
Yes,
actual AFL football.
Yes,
you realise, of course, this is a dream every Australian father has.
I know.
And you got it.
I know. I'm real honoured to have a
He's
son.
pretty good at it.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Very
What's his
proud of
number?
him. Tuke Miller, number 11.
He's 11 this year.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So he's doing well.
Man, so I suppose, what's next then?
Well, I've written some songs for the Gold Coast.
Okay.
And hopefully I will get them to him soon.
Yes.
As I said, my desire to work with the comedian Sinbad when he comes over for
sure.
the next comedy festival.
Yeah.
And I also do a show with 6 months of the year. I work with a group that works on the cruise ships.
Oh, okay.
And the Groove Line. So we have a Facebook page you can actually check
Groove
out.
Line?
Yeah, the Groove Line.
So, if people go on cruise ships, make sure the Groove Line's on board.
Pretty much Royal Caribbean is the one we work with. But yeah. Find us online, Groove Line.
I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah, you love it, man. It's very exciting, and we have a lot of fun.
So now let's talk a little bit in just the last minute about, other cultural areas in Melbourne, and kind of like, I suppose, we're in a city there where many ethnicities live together.
Beautiful.
Isn't it great?
It's absolutely beautiful. I address this whenever I do a show.
Okay.
And now I'm actually working on a comedy channel. I actually will give you one of the badges for them to take you there. I've worked out a few episodes to a comedy show.
Which brings in
that talks about all the groups.
Oh, how too groovy is that?
And I have some fantastic comedic artists that I'm working with. Mayumi is really good.
And there's a
Bruno.
website for you, is there?
Yeah, I do have a website.
Okay.
Hung Lee, Bruno, these are also
They're
good
all there
comedic
with you,
friends
are
of
they?
me. Yeah, and I'm just
magic.
vying to get them involved into the show because I believe their personality will help take it to another level, which is where it needs to go.
Absolutely.
Addressing the issues that we are addressing from a comedy standpoint.
Nevertheless, you can get through to the consciousness of listeners, viewers, and make a good point with comedy. Hey?
Yes. And music.
Thank you very much for coming in, Wiley.
Thank you. Thank
Cheers.
you for having me, man, for sure.
And welcome anytime.
Yeah.
So, and thank you, viewers, for staying tuned. Tune in again next week. You've been watching NAT Chat, Migration Stories. I'm Rich Micallef. Check you next time.
I'm able to dream, I'm able to smile, I'm able to grow, and I'll go the extra mile, one day at a time. So put your hands together, we can change lives forever. Together, we're able.
Able Australia. Together, we're able.
Coming up this Monday, the 14th of January, 9 p.m. Harmony and Diversity, then Red Lobster Poetry, 15 fabulous minutes at 10 o'clock, and then Transports of Distant Delight at 10:30. Then we close at 10:45. Enjoy the rest of your night with us.
Alleluia. Om Mani Padme. Om. Allah
You're watching Harmony and Diversity. And again, I'm speaking with Anne Lastman, a post-abortion grief counsellor. There's been 2 programs with Anne, one tracing her spiritual background, then speaking specifically about survivors of abortion. This program would like to address the Abortion Law Reform Bill 2008. The big issue that surrounds this is the conscientious objection of doctors, which we'll go into some detail. But to introduce, these are the amendments which were proposed for that bill and which were rejected. The first one was reducing the time during which the approval of 2 doctors would be necessary for an abortion, reducing that from 24 to 12 or 14 weeks, rejected. Restricting abortions to public hospitals, rejected. Providing that a second doctor approval is needed for an abortion, the second doctor is not employed in the same medical practice or the same hospital, rejected. Partial birth abortions should be illegal. Permitting medical practitioners to refrain from participating in an abortion or having to refer a woman to another abortionist as conscientious objectors, rejected. The fetus that is born alive should have all the rights of a child, regardless of whether the fetus was born during or after an attempted abortion, rejected. A medical practitioner who performs an abortion and who gives direction to perform an abortion must ensure that the reasonable steps have been taken to ensure that the abortion is conducted without causing pain to the fetus, rejected. Termination review panels to be established to oversee abortions on a woman who is more than 24 weeks pregnant, rejected. Protection of medical practitioners and nurses who have conscientious objection to abortion, rejected. The 2 issues that we'd like to pick up from there relate to the nurses, the medical practitioners, this issue of conscientious objection, which is a major ethical consideration. I'm sorry for that long introduction, Anne, but I'll pass that over to you. How does this abortion bill sit with you? What are your observations?
As I was listening to you, obviously I've read them in the past, but you can't keep them on the front of your memory because they drive you insane. As you read them, all I could hear behind that was so much hatred of those people who've passed those laws.
Yes.
That's all I could hear, hatred. Imagine even not to permit a child that's being killed to have painkilling. Rejected. Not to allow a person who doesn't want to be involved in an abortion, rejected. Not to, there is not one sense of pity in this law. Not for the, not for nobody. For nobody. Imagine a child born alive not to be attended to. Rejected.
Yes.
What kind of society have we got that would put together such a law?
It seems to be an objectivizing of the mother, the father, and the child, wrapped up in what seems to be political correctness, which is, and dare I make the point, which is actually has the ring of feminism in there. There's a weaving of that. It is quite, from an ethical point of view, and I'm just looking here that one of the titles of an article I looked at is criminalising Christian behaviour. legally enforced political correctness.
Yes.
Now, that's an issue which grows from the lack of opportunity of a doctor to stand behind his conscientious objection to abortion.
What about me? What's going to happen to a counsellor and a Catholic psychologist or Christian or Buddhist who has an objection to abortion and I speak out against it?
Yes.
What's going to happen? Am I going to be one of those that if that Tasmanian bill goes through, am I going to be one of those that goes to jail for 12 months and is fined $65,000?
Yes.
Am I going to be one of those? What barbaric human beings could put together such laws?
Yes. I think there's an issue to do with ethics. There's some of what we're looking at is the death of ethics, but we're also looking at political correctness because, and I'm not casting any aspersions on Islam whatsoever, but legislating in any way which offends the Islamic faith is steered away from quite sharply. And I reiterate the fact that's not a judgment of anything to do with Islam. It's just the way in which governments and organisations respond. So, if I was to say, why?
Why?
Yes, political correctness.
Absolutely. And what we spoke in one of the other shows, that the first or second show, I don't remember, that abortion is so normal now that we're even talking about post-birth abortion. You've heard of that, haven't you? Of the post-birth abortion.
No, I haven't.
Ethics.
But when we come back after this break, let's talk about post-birth abortion.
Okay.
We'll be back in a moment.
Hallelujah.
Come on, fellas. Let's get down there.
Hang on. Where's Dave?
Oh, hey fellas. What do you think? Pretty cool, eh?
Real men look out for each other. Don't let your mates drink and drown.
Most of us experience life's ups and downs, but we can always appreciate the finer details that make life worth living. But for 1 in 5 of us, mental illness can make us lose sight of the big picture. That's when Paran Mission can lend a helping hand. We've been caring for the community for over 60 years, finding a place for people with no place. Show your support and stand up for mental illness. Visit our website and make a donation today.
Every minute.
Every hour.
Every mother and father.
Every sister and brother.
Every son and every daughter.
Everyone you see.
Everyone you cheer.
Everyone you watch. And everyone you hear.
Everyone you meet.
Everyone you know.
Everyone you love.
Everyone is affected.
Reach out and get connected.
Here are some brilliant news for adults who have difficulties with spelling, reading a newspaper or phone bill, or writing letters and emails. It can be easier to improve your reading and writing skills than to keep putting it off. Take the plunge. Call the Reading Writing Hotline, 1300 655506.
1300 655506.
It could change your life.
You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Anne Lastman, who's a post-abortion grief counsellor. And Anne, just as we went to the break, you were talking about post-birth abortions, which seems like a very interesting concept. Could you explain that a bit?
I thought that would shock you, and you did look a bit shocked.
Indeed.
But I think it was last year, there was these two Melbourne philosophers who came out with this theory that if we can now have abortions to 40 weeks, why not post-birth? If there is something wrong with the child, well, within a certain time frame, well, do something about it. Post-birth abortion. Abortion, what does the word abortion mean? Abortion means the death of a child. So post-birth abortion means post-birth, the death, euthanize the child, because that's the only way, because it would be the euthanasia of a brand new baby for whatever the reasons. Now, I remember at the time there was a huge hue and cry against these two so-called philosophers. And rightly so. But what we have to keep in mind is that it's already been thought about.
Yes.
Nothing happens unless it starts with a thought.
That's right.
Okay. So if it's thought about, it's somewhere in the melting pot.
Yes. Yes.
So why are we surprised with gender selection? That's part of this post-birth abortion.
Yes.
That's preceding it.
It's basically ethical degeneration. It is. And philosophers are renowned for throwing a stone in the pond. Those two guys might not necessarily have believed it at all, but they could see the extension, the logical extension of what was happening, and unfortunately, it has that potential. Just talking about ethics, you'd be familiar with the fact that I think it's in Wales, particularly where there were coal mines. The miners would go down the mine shaft with a canary in a cage, and so if the canary started to get sick or die, they knew that carbon monoxide was around. Yeah. So the air was going bad. There's an article being written by a writer from Canada, actually, and she titled her article, Conscientious Objectors, Canaries in the Ethical Mine Shaft, which tends to fit just what we're talking about there, is this decay of ethics. In your observations, what do you think the driving force is behind this ethical decay?
What is pushing it forward? An ideology which can only come out of hell. An ideology which is utilitarian.
Yes.
An ideology which cannot survive or allow humanity to survive.
Yes. I'm very aware of political correctness, but I'm going to raise it anyway. There seems to be a perspective that I detect, and in our earlier conversation you referred to it, is that much of the driving, it comes actually from feminism in its various forms. And I'm not expressing opposition to feminism per se, but in its various forms. How do you see that as integrating with this? This is a very much of woman's problem, this, isn't it? Of abortion.
No, it isn't. Because it takes a man and a woman to create a baby.
Yes, understood. I expressed that badly.
Okay. No, Norm, hold on. We're buying their argument.
Yes.
Damn it, no, I'm not buying their argument. It isn't a woman's problem. We both made love and we both conceived the baby. It's not a woman's problem. When there is a new creation in her womb, yes, it is her body. She is the host, but the child has a separate body. A child has his own or her own heartbeat, organs, everything.
Yeah.
And no, the woman did not create this baby alone. No matter how brilliant she is, she can't. It needs a male. So it is both a male and a female problem. As I've said somewhere else, and I don't remember where I said, Adam is as absent today as he was in the garden. And this is part of the problem. Adam has walked away from supporting Eve. I mean genuinely supporting Eve. And by that, I mean male and female.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
This is the biggest part of the problem. And I remember reading one of the studies of Professor Philip Nye from Canada. And he said that in his findings, if a woman feels supported by her partner, she won't abort. It's the partner who walks away, whether husband, boyfriend, or even family. When the woman feels unsupported, she will abort.
Yes.
But it's not her pregnancy.
No.
It's interesting. When we have a pregnant couple who are happily pregnant, it's our baby, isn't it?
That's right.
When it's not a happy pregnancy, it's her pregnancy.
Yes.
No, I refuse that.
Yes, that's an interesting point, and I'm just about to raise an issue which we'll need to talk about after the break, I suggest. But this also goes to the diminution. That's
Thank
the
you.
word. Thank you so much. Diminution of the male role, which is actually the male's response to an aggressive feminist movement over the past 10 to 15 years. So men have actually lost their place to a large extent, and that may in fact be part of the reason for the degeneration of the ethical principles in relation to abortion. But we'll pick that up after the break because we could go a long way with that.
Okay, very long.
Yes, indeed. We'll go to a break. We'll be back soon.
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage. Because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
Had enough of the bad news about carbon dioxide and climate change? Wood is one solution. Trees take CO2 from the air and store it in their wood. They're also renewable, unlike concrete and steel. But the wood you choose should be recycled or from certified plantations or forests. This helps protect areas of high conservation value. So next time you're building or buying something, make it wood and do your world some good.
So, you think you're ready for this?
To take on the world? Why not?
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and I'm speaking with Anne Lastman, who's a post-abortion grief counsellor. Before we went to break, we were sort of starting to get into an interesting concept of the fact that part of a male disassociation with his involvement with the child, his involvement with abortion, may well be attributable to the fact that he has been, and this is an observation, fairly broadly held observation, that men have actually lost a lot of their sense of place, and so that they'll surrender to the fact that the child is the woman's responsibility. It's her body, it's her this, it's her that.
Where did that start from?
Well, the theory is that started from the aggressive early feminist movement in the sense that men were reduced in their sense of value and worth. This is only a theory, but that's why I was going to ask you whether you see that as being the case. Do you get feedback from your clients to indicate the male's perspective, the male's role in the choice to abort?
From the females, mostly, it was to placate a boyfriend, a husband, or someone important.
Right.
Okay. From the males, because I've also had male clients who are devastated because the woman has said, it's my body, I'll do with it what I want.
Yes.
But I said to you, when do you think it started? It started, as far as I can go back. In fact, I had this discussion only this past week. I think it began, the seed was planted in 1930 and began in the 60s, solidly, with the pill culture, contraceptive culture.
Yeah, yep.
When the woman said, I will now do with my body as I want. I will be as in control of my body. I shall go and have as much sex as I want without fear. And of course, I'm sorry, but the male enjoyed that bit. Because
I can't believe that.
No, absolutely. You can't. No. I mean, here he can have as much sex as he wants without there being any responsibility.
Any consequence, yeah.
Consequences to... Before that, if he got someone pregnant, he'd have to... her dad would shoot him.
That's right. Yeah, the old days.
But after that, he didn't have to worry anymore. And slowly, what has happened is that he's withdrawn from the child that he conceives.
Yes.
Because he's now not needed.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, and I'm minded of something that I read recently in preparing for these interviews, is the fact that even there are quite a large percentage of abortions actually arise from people who've been using contraceptives, in fact sometimes 2 levels of contraceptives, so that the contraception itself is oftentimes not a good guarantee.
But it's also contraception itself, and even the morning after pills are abortifacients. So that's a different, another level, chemical abortions.
Yes.
We've got a new level of abortion. Does that mean that a 4-week baby is not a baby?
No, no.
So we've got a different, again, a new level.
Yes, the chemical abortions raise some very serious ethical issues.
Absolutely. Now, recently we read here that the RU486 is OTC, over the counter.
That's right.
Without prescription.
Yes.
Okay. We know that overseas and in America and in Europe there's been deaths from RU486.
Yes.
What do we need? More deaths here before some action will be taken, because a 15-year-old who isn't responsible enough to fix her own bed,
yes,
and really they shouldn't be because they're only 15.
That's right.
Does something that she feels afraid, she's intimate with her boyfriend, and then takes RU486 when she's 6 weeks pregnant. What might that do to her?
Well, lots of horrible things, but the thing which arises there, and this is a question I'd like to ask you because of your involvement, a 15-year-old girl who becomes pregnant, what are the counselling services available to her? How do you service these young people? How do you service women who have come to the conclusion that abortion is the only answer? What would you see as being, A, the existing process, and what would be the ideal process?
Well, at the moment there exists pregnancy centres that can help them. There's pregnancy support services all over the place. But if this law going through in Tasmania comes about and is picked up here in Victoria, there won't be any.
No.
No, there won't be allowed to be.
Yes, it's pretty horrific, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's worse than this Victorian law.
Yes. It places. I keep coming back to the word ethics, and we could talk for hours about what that actually
there is
means.
the death of ethics in our society now. We are at the end of a time, but we haven't found a way to get into a new time yet.
Interesting. Yeah. The age of Aquarius or something.
I don't know what age it is, but we have ended an era, but we have nothing that will lead us except death into the next era. And John Paul II's terms, culture of death, is well and thriving. Because euthanasia is only just around the corner somewhere.
Culture of death. That culture of death implies the end of time, and we're out of time.
Oh,
so
darn it!
No,
I was enjoying it.
You're going to make another point. Thank you so much, Anne.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated, and we've covered some very interesting ground.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu
RSPCA, for all creatures, great and small.
Do you currently have a community service announcement on free-to-air television? If you do, you can now submit it to us as well via our website at MELfeed.video. We have lots of time to fill on these broadcasts, and we are sure to give your announcement a great run on MELfeed.video. Taking you to all of Melbourne's big events, it's 15 Fabulous Minutes, Mondays at 10. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
This is kind of a tongue-in-cheek piece. This is called Concerto in B flat for piano and phlegm. Yes. Here I am, alone in bed, reading poetry and listening to the radio. Classical, so I will not be distracted by words spoken or sung. A pianist demonstrates how they move through each note, retreating to give space to genteel violins, and that's when I hear it. Soft, almost discreet. Someone coughing. The piano and strings work together to cover it up, but too late. Life continues as the pianist hits every note in melodious order, but before they do, someone coughs. Again. I imagine the conductor fuming. I imagine the pianist wanting to grab someone by the throat. The sound engineer wishing decades of research hadn't been spent trying to capture every note, nuance and expectorant given by an orchestra. The front row desperate to turn and glare at the culprit, some poor soul shrinking into their seat, trying to keep it professional until the movement ends. In solidarity, 2 more coughs, 1 small sneeze and a murmur fill the silence of a flu-ridden musician running to the exit for safety.
My old lady, she's hounded, sleeps all day but her eyes still show circles. See how her mouth curls like paper with edges lifted by steam. She used to dream of escape. Even when she was safe and there was nothing to run from, there were always red-eye flights and late-night trains. 6-lane freeways stretching so far they wound out to thin ribbons of unsealed road, forgetting the cities they started in. And my old lady, she was all right then, but now she dreams of nothing save those flat suburban dreams thick with vacant lots and pay TV, crisscrossed by telephone wires. And the twilight filtering through old running shoes, knotted at the laces and dangling overhead like a threat. There is no what comes next. No route to check. There is only more of the same, and though her dreams still back train lines, she's no longer fast in them. Can no longer make it past our own front door before that slow dread drags her in again. Without knowing why, she cries herself threadbare, till there's nothing left there but sound, and even that sound has long since stopped making sense to her.
I want you. I want you to take away my breath, embrace me with your death and make my heart bleed. I want you. I want you to slap my face to attention, put my whole world in detention and make my mind speed. I need you. I want you. I want to be with you. I want intimacy like an ocean's chalice, devotion without malice. I want you to open up to me. I want you to fart on me. I want to feel my leg quiver beneath the covers and your cheeks. I want to shiver with your vibrations. I want to feel the rough emotions. I want you to fart on me. I want you to show me love with a Dutch oven from heaven above. And what is it with those Dutch with their Dutch ovens and their chips and mayonnaise with their ice cream cones? I want you to fart on me. I want you to start my heart with sweet methane. I want you to drive me insane with inane expulsions of gaseous affection, a compulsion to dominate my airspace like a MiG in the desert night. And if you farted on me, it would make everything all right. Thank you.
The sun attacks the iris. It pierces a pupil and it carves out a crease for itself, and that's one more, one over. That's one more to confirm a continuing presence and stamped with a squint of a difficult, distant and sad adolescence. And that's one more for us. That's one for the street and for the home team, and one for that stream of wet black silver. Curving, streaming, dog-sniffed gutter, wet dog, lost dog, tater crisp wrapper paved with silver. And that silver, he says, And that silver, he says, and that silver that's streaming and silver that's steaming beneath these boots. When the sun grabs this country, or touches it softly like two old lovers or two young lovers kept too long, too far apart, catching glances, aging, ardent, hardened, hearted, separated, militant by concrete-coloured clouds, and each day she grows further and he drinks himself into a deep, dark sleep. There's no rules around here anymore. It can rain without clouds or arrest without reason, and wet dogs are freezing to telegraph poles. Wet dogs, lost dogs, stumble through traffic like old men, lost men, wet men, sad men, leaning on lampposts and propped against fences in perfect past tenses. And I'd had, and I'd thought, and I'd seen, and I was, but there's no point explaining that nowadays because they wouldn't understand. And shackled like bicycles, front tyres crippled, they stand in the street as the rain runs and ripples a river and slithers and silver. That's silver, he says, and that's silver, he says, and that's silver that's streaming and silver that's steaming beneath these boots. Standing at the bus stop, he forms himself into an orderly queue and pretends to be waiting. Pretends to have something worth waiting upon, pretends to have something important to do. He pulls down his cloth cap and coughs into his handkerchief and folds it up and puts it back, and that's no way to be living, Dad. He says, that's no way to be living, son? Do you think that I don't know that? Do you think I was never young? Do you think I came limping out of the womb to be tossed in a Talbot and dossed in a dirty and dusty old room? Do you think I knew no one before I had you? Where are they gone? Where's Patrick and Thomas and Joseph and Tom and Michael and John and Shane and Siobhan, and where the hell have all of them gone? He says, I'm propped between a footpath and a fence post now, but that's not where I was born and that's not where I'm staying. And he crosses himself and he crosses the street. And he walks on water. The street runs a river. It ripples in silver. That's silver, he says, and that's silver, he says, and that's silver that's streaming and silver that's steaming beneath these boots. Thanks.
This is Ballard days. We live in the Ballard days. We bear our bullet-torn flesh, our steering wheel cracked ribs, but deny the pierced heart of our internal bleeding. We bear the radiation burns as marks of piety, but think nothing of the cancer and how it quietly spreads within us. We inure ourselves to the constant degradation of our bodies and wake up every morning a little further behind the 8 ball. We wake every morning, change the bandages, recycle the letters from our doctors saying, your results are back, call me.
I liked you. You weren't a tiptoer. On the contrary, you came crashing down the sleazy corridor of life, rattling doorknobs and shouting obscene things through keyholes. You fell against doors and pulled alarms. You kicked out every window you could before passing out beside the fire extinguisher. I liked you. You didn't blame anyone. You slept on the floor of that one-room apartment, wrote dirty stories at your stolen desk, drank yourself half to death, and then called long distance to tell me how you could have lived better if you'd wanted to. I liked you. You never promised me anything. You told me to suck it up, princess. The world ain't gonna listen. And then you told me exactly what I could do with those artists and those tortured musicians and those literary types. But I liked you. And when I finally came to ask after you, proclaiming myself as reckless but tiptoeing, just like everyone else, they told me that one of those doors you'd fallen against had opened.
This next poem is called Screw. I actually wrote it for a poetry night called Liner Notes. For those of you who don't know what Liner Notes is, I don't care. But this poem actually really has very little to do with the song called Screw by The Cure from 1984. But it is a love story of sorts. I just want to warn you before I begin that this poem contains violence, coarse language, and strong adult themes. Jody liked cock. Now this shouldn't shock and dismay you, alarm or betray your sensibilities. It's perfectly natural for a girl to want to be touched. Jimmy was a cunt. It wasn't just stunted emotional development or degenerate, blunted, bad sentiments. It's just that he was a prick, walking around with his hand on his dick, looking for his sick follies and selfish jollies to amuse him. Tight black jeans and something mean on the music scene. Jody got tattoos for her 16th birthday. A butterfly and a knife in red and black on her back. A black star between her two small, warm, playful breasts. A guiding light to twin moons. And she was sick of those teenage hoons with their cheap flannelette and their Suburban and Coke. She was tired of being half-cocked on the back streets with their foreskins, boring teenage parties with Nirvana played full bore, odd hand jobs with second-rate classmates, finger bangs and adolescent pangs of longing. She was sick of little boys and their big shoulders, wanting the touch and gaze of someone older. She wanted to be taken. She wanted to be shaken. She wanted to screw. She met him up the front, and like most front men, he was low on talent but high on charisma. His manic, dark wailing inspiring a trail of doters at the tote, panting pretties at the punters, panties moist with anticipatory flavour, teasing like wet washing on a hill's hoist. His boyish charm and chiselled arms, tall, skinny, black jeans, black hair, black singlet, black stare, kept him in sex with old and young alike. But he saw her that night. Their eyes met, his blue and cocksure, hers brown, shy and longing. He was 21 and she was 16, both dressed in black. In blackjack, you never need to hit on 21, and rarely should you on 16. But when the dealer has you beat, you have to take a chance even if you bust. And she wanted to. She wanted to taste anew. She wanted to screw. By the last song he knew he'd nail her, hammer her like a wild brumbee coming in the moonlight, bolt her bolting in the darkness of his bedroom. She couldn't wrench her gaze away from his pants, watching him thrust and dance, hypnotised, his nuts tingling as the crowd pulverised the air with their drunken breath and cigarette smoke, heads mental, backs bent, wasted, waists shaking transcendentally as they sent themselves into oblivion. And as the crowd writhed, these two paused and sensed the sweat fly in slow motion as they gazed across an ocean 5 foot wide. The last song finished and he didn't buy her a drink. Told his mates to pack up his gear and left. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. He gently put his finger on her neck, cupped it in his palm firmly, smiling his bad boy grin. She heeded his call. It was all she needed to hear. Now, Brunswick Street was a throng at 2:37 a.m. This was not the age of noise complaints or 2 a.m. lockouts, no. The shouts of drunk punters resonating. Deliberate, he strided lithely, seeking privacy down Argyle Street. He lived 5 blocks the other way, but wouldn't wait as she squeezed his hand. Nothing can be built in a rush. Nothing can be built that won't fall down in hushed tones and sore foundations. But he wasn't building this to last. He wanted a screw, and fast. At Napier Street, he found darkness in a smashed streetlight and a Commodore, kissed and threw her on the bonnet playfully. She yelped with glee, and they kissed again. He touched her chest. Heeding the tattoo's call as she closed her eyes and sighed, "Where are you taking me?" She giggled, but he didn't answer, shushing her, pushing her back down against the car. He undid his belt and then her jeans, and for the first time it seemed to her there just wasn't something quite right. But she wanted him still. Wanted him to fill her little hole with something more than rhetoric and darkness. She wanted her screw, and she wanted it now. He pulled her up and turned her wrong way round, pulled her jeans down round her legs and held her throat as he drilled into her. She blacked out for a second in pain, and it took her several minutes to regain her train of thought and realise that there was blood all down her thighs. And so he hurt her. He hurt her chin like sandpaper, scraping her as she said stop, his pelvis cutting her in cold chops, wrecking in her temple, the first example of her interactions with a lover. A gothic nightmare like no other. And while her classmates gave her a premonition of a structure strong and boring, he gave her demolition of esteem like a whore. She felt weak and cheap like a second-hand tent. He finished cold and spent, and she ran. She ran all the way home towards the sunrise, a fantasy of screaming lies. Screws can be rough and hard, and love is often softer. And here's one little girl who didn't live happily ever after.
You teach us strangers are dangerous. But someone we know is a much more likely threat. You teach us strangers are dangerous. But who will help when you're not around? Create a world without unnecessary fear. Prepare, don't scare.
Sport is for everyone.
No matter who you are or where you're from,
there's no place for discrimination in sport.
And everyone should feel welcome, safe,
respected and get a fair go.
Whether you're a player, a spectator, a coach or an official.
What do you want from your sport?
Are you ready to make a difference? Sport is for everyone.
And everyone starts with you.
Keep your sport inclusive,
safe, fair and fun.
For more information, go to playbytherules.net.au.
Behind every great athlete, there is a great support network. Australian Athletes with a Disability and Wheelchair Sports Australia help athletes realise their full potential.
Gonna go from 3, yes!
No matter their ability, we're there to support them. Sporting opportunities for all abilities. For more information, visit sports.org.au.
If you choose to drive when overtired,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's, your family's, or your own.
Choose a power nap instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
If a man's home is his castle, his shed is his kingdom. It's a place men can hang out with a few mates, build a few things, even if you haven't before, and give back to the community. No man should be without a shed. The Australian Men's Shed Association is working to provide a shed for all Australian men, and they have over 400 already. Visit your local shed, build your community, and make a difference. Find a shed near you. It's time to give back.
Little baby, don't you cry. Daddy's gonna sing you a lullaby. When you're sleeping safe and sound, you've got the proudest dad in town. I remember when I first saw you. your heart beating as you grew. We'll read you stories to help you dream. Your mommy and I are a perfect team. I can't wait to hear you sing or watch as you put on a wedding ring. One day you'll have children too. Remember the times I sang to you.
Depending on how you look at it, I'm either a dreadful, dreadful IT geek or actually really rather a good one. I've been fascinated lately with dead technology, stuff that has officially been announced that they're no longer making it or, making bits and pieces for it. So the next two eulogies for dead technology. This is the eulogy for the cassette tape. Farewell, ferromagnetic medium. 5 decades have rolled past until this day, but now the tape has run out. Now the factories close on you, like vinyl so many years ago. In my library, where the dust gathers, my collection accepts the news as inevitable. No longer will we hear the faint hiss and see the slow analog roll. All hi-fi will lower themselves the regulation 8 centimetres as players are unplugged and removed in respect. CDs look nervously over their shoulder as the avalanche of time rolls down behind them. TDK and BASF have scattered the first few iron filings on your plastic case. Your spool run all the way through to be turned back over to side 1 no more. Farewell.
I've been working recently on a play in verse for 5 voices, and it's about 2 brothers who fucking hate each other, and they're constantly fighting about land and about this woman and things. But in between the scenes, they have little asides and they kind of talk to the audience a little bit, and you get an idea of what it was like before. And since there's 2 voices, I'm going to ask Jeff Lemon to give me a hand, and we thought we'd just read a short scene from that play.
Hunter used to have this car.
It wasn't just a car.
It was a Land Rover.
I had this fucking Land Rover.
With a dodgy...
everything. It had a dodgy everything.
Yeah, a steering thing and, pretty much everything. We were what, 17?
You were.
You would have been...
15 or so, I don't know.
So anyway, it had this dodgy steering thing. What do you call it, Hunter?
Column.
Had a dodgy steering column, didn't it?
You'd sit there and the whole thing would just lift off.
In your hands. It'd just lift off.
And
you go.
Well, I was just going to say, the roads out near Tally, they're straight as a gun barrel, the old York Road, right? So anyway, this one time...
You got to say the hitchhiker.
I fucking am.
We used to get these hitchhikers, right, going to Tally to see the big potato.
Like it's something to fucking see. So we'd stop.
Right? Hunter would be driving.
Maybe smoking a joint or whatever.
He would be.
I would be. You'd be having a Fanta or whatever.
Yeah, a beer or whatever, but...
The hitchhiker's in the back and offer him a bit of a smoke, and he'd be like, nice one, thank you.
He's off to Tally.
Off to see the big potato. And I'd be like...
Hunter's driving, right? And he'd be like, do you feel like driving? To me? And I'd be like...
Gordon's like, nah. So too tired or whatever. So I turn to the hitchhiker.
Gun barrel highway.
And I say to him, what do you reckon? Do you want to go?
And he doesn't slow down.
And I pull out the steering wheel.
Out of its column.
And passes it. Over my shoulder.
And this guy in the back, right, with a joint and a beer. And this one guy...
This German guy, he takes the wheel.
This German guy?
He takes the wheel. And he starts to fucking steer.
This is eulogy for the Polaroid camera. This year we shake our head and mutter to ourselves, another one gone. Your loss makes us feel the weight of age. We are taken back to a time when there was a shutter, a whirring, and seconds later, shaking. We discovered what sins we had committed, oh Cassandra Camera. You displayed to us the future, but we couldn't see it. Not enough time spent waiting for these pictures to form. Too much time spent looking through the glamorous liquid crystal aperture. Too little to see too little could be seen through a tiny LCD screen. We didn't see you had run out of film, while our memory cards filled with embarrassments and regrets.
This is just a little suite of tiny poems. Souvenir. She was a plastic New York City. You were that snow that would not melt, that fell 1,000 different ways before the globe finally broke. The trick to believing in God. It is 6:42 a.m. You smile in your sleep. Light pulls in the corners of your mouth, and I can almost remember the trick to believing in God. Snow. At the corner of Swanson and Collins, two blind women talk about snow. I spent my last $17 trying to pretend I wasn't down to my last $17. It worked for a little while. Sparrows. 10 years ago we fed sparrows in a hospital garden until the nurses let us in to watch you die. The obituarist kept to his end of the bargain, and you kept to yours. And there was a time when that would have been the end of it.
Here are the current weather readings for Melbourne, Geelong, Ballarat, Shepparton, Bendigo and Echuca on the MELfeed video weather wall. It also includes tomorrow's forecast and expected minimum temperatures in these areas overnight. This is the MELfeed video weather wall on a different sort of TV. MELfeed Video.
Hi again, we're just about to head into 15 fabulous minutes with Jacqueline and Steve, and that will be followed by Transports of Distant Delight, which is a special episode just for MELfeed tonight, and we're closing up tonight at 10:45. So until next week, we'll see you next week, and enjoy the last two programs, and we'll see you again next week.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
And welcome to another episode of 15 Fabulous Minutes. And tonight we're going to present Zodi Art. What is that? Well, we're going to go inside here to Gur's restaurant. Not only a restaurant, but an art gallery as well. And we're going to talk to one of the main photographers here about Zodi Art. grand opening tonight. It's the launch of the Zodiac, which is a very fine body painting, all put onto prints, as well as the artwork, which you can see on the walls over here. So we're actually going to talk to the designer and what inspired him to do this tonight. And the creation actually took 2 years to do, so it's quite an event. And here's some of the artwork. With Rudy Everts and the mastermind behind this creation, the Zodiac's body painting. What inspired you to do this?
I've been working in advertising photography for many years, quite a number of years. I thought it's about time I did something for myself. So I put it to my partner Gabriella, what can I do? And I've always wanted to do body art. Not that I'm a good painter, in fact, I'm a lousy painter. So she said, "Well, if you want to do body art, you've got to have a theme." And she suggested then maybe signs of the zodiac. And if you ask someone what their star sign is, they'll say, "Oh, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Leo, or I'm a Sagittarius, or Scorpio." Whatever. You ask anybody what their star sign is, they'll know it straight away.
And you can relate. That's something obviously everybody relates to in subject matter anyhow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for instance, what is your star sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Gemini. Okay. Did you see the Gemini here tonight?
Yes, and I'm actually wondering, it was done on the bottom. Why wasn't it done on the breast so I can have a bosom buddy? Okay.
Well, there is a Gemini. If you look at my website, www.rudyphoto.com, there's the female version, which is 2 cherubs painted on the lady's knees, on her legs actually, and that's the female version.
Fantastic the way they merge the zodiac sign on the human form. I think they're just fantastic because it's sometimes you actually focus on the sign and then you see the human body. You're not like directly staring at the line of the human body. I think.
Yeah, he's manipulated the bodies in such a way that it's actually very hard. Almost some of them you can't even tell it's painted on a human being.
Exactly, I agree. I think that's the beauty of it, the fact that it's not so specific, it's not so obvious to the eye.
You've done 2 versions of.
Yeah, there's a male and a female version of every single star sign. There's 12 of one and 12 of the other.
That's a lot.
24.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Now I can understand why it's taken you 2 years to do.
Well, we did in our spare time when we could, fit it in and around our commercial work. And Faye, the artist, she lives down the bay, and I had to find time for her to come up from down there, which is a long way. It's an hour's drive plus, and she decided, well, we'll do 12. When I first approached her, I said we want to do the star sign. She said, okay, this will only take a day each. No way.
Seems to be a very relaxed affair here tonight. And are you enjoying yourself?
Fantastic. Look, I was late, but God, if I'd known what was going to be here, I think this is a metaphor. Actually, it reminds me a lot of the John Brack work. If you think about Brack, most of Brack's work was a metaphor about a struggle between opposing sides. This is clearly the struggle for human nature to escape their inner sort of self.
So what's your favourite art piece?
My favourite art piece is actually Scorpio.
And why the Scorpio?
Well, it's an inspiring month of the year, and I
take it you're a Scorpio.
Birthday happens to be in the 28th of October. 28th of October. Yeah. So I mean,
do you think it's that way? Do everybody think they like the thing that's most closest to their star? For instance, what's your star sign?
Sagittarius.
And do you like the Sagittarius artwork?
It very much, especially the female. I like the female Sagittarius.
More so than any other, or?
No, I like the Scorpio. I think that's very clever, and I think Capricorn's very clever too. But I like them all. I think they're all very well done, very artistic, and the photography is absolutely superb.
One of the models, Jeremy here, and this is your bicep here. You're a male Scorpio?
Correct. That's correct, yes.
And how long did it take to get this one done?
As with all of them, it took pretty much all day. We get there in the morning and slog through until sort of 5, 6 in the evening.
It's quite a long day. I mean, for this one, it's quite small, quite clever. And you're obviously going to be... Did you do it in winter or summer?
They were stretched out throughout the year. Thankfully, most of the time I was either lying down or sitting comfortably. And the only times I had to get into this contorted position was only for the camera, just to see that it would work, and throughout the day, yeah.
And the shoot itself would probably only take 5 minutes as to your 5 hours of getting all made up.
Absolutely, the shortest time, the shortest part of the day was the photography.
Now, you're not only just the Scorpio, that you also did a few other creatures. So one of them was the Sagittarius?
Yes, Sagittarius, Virgo, Scorpio and Pisces.
I think you got the bum deal here, basically, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I actually enjoyed this one. I was lying flat on my stomach for most of the day, and it was quite therapeutic having your bum stroked by brushes all day.
I was going to say, did you actually have to wax for this one?
If you look closely, actually, you can see there's a little bit of fuzz, a little bit of furriness there.
No bum fluff.
Yeah, no, this was a good one. And a lot of people comment on this one, not only from the posture, but the colours. It's really vivid.
My favourite, well, there's three. There's Capricorn female. That's where the goat is painted on the girl's neck, chin.
You photographed that actually upside down?
Well, I photographed the right way up and then turn it upside down, yeah. Then there's the Sagittarius, the male.
Why is that one of your favourites?
I like the design, and that's one of Faye's designs, where the guy's arm is turned into the bow, and his hand is the hand that pulls the arrow or the string of the bow. Scorpio female.
Scorpio female.
Yeah, I actually pinched that design from a Japanese photographer. I can't remember his name, but I'd seen that image of the girl photograph.
I'm sure he'll hate you for that.
Well, I don't know. They say imitation is flattery or whatever. But, he'd photographed lying on her back, her full torso exposed, and I thought, we could turn this into a Scorpio because all I needed was that arm for the stinger in the Scorpion, and that is probably, besides Capricorn, which maybe I shouldn't say this, but Faye didn't want to paint that one, but I thought that's a good one because it's intriguing.
Another bum shot here, and it's quite clever. You've actually used your little finger here as the nipple. How long did it take to do this one?
Yeah, this one took quite a while because every time I stood up, because we were lying down for most of the day, but every time I stood up, her face would change. So we had to keep getting progress shots and adjusting according to how her face was when I was actually standing in the right pose.
I guess the artist wouldn't like that much.
Yeah, no, look, Faye was great. She was fabulous to work with. She was extremely professional and easy to talk to, and they were very long days, and yeah, I thought she was really good. Thanks to Faye, she was fabulous.
Was it a tiring thing to do?
Yeah, I mean...
You'll like have a book and just read because you got 5 hours to lay on your stomach.
It's funny because a couple of times I actually fell asleep while I was being painted, and
what a way to fall asleep with someone stroking your back with a paintbrush. I mean, that's the life, huh?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a very peaceful way to doze off, actually.
Restaurant is something different than the average here in Melbourne. You actually have a sort of a restaurant come art gallery.
Yes, we just sort of cater to graphic side of things, I guess. Just anyone from professionals to amateurs can come and exhibit their work and sort of have it seen by cafe and restaurant people that come in and eat and drink.
And how successful has tonight been in it by having these artworks on your wall?
It's been very successful, as you've seen around. I mean, the quality of it's very good, so it sort of helps us get a good name out there in the photography community of that. You know, we sort of have great artwork up also, and photography work. And hence that's where the name Daguerre comes from, Louis Daguerre, inventor of photography.
There you go. Well, that's something I never knew before in all those times I've eaten here. Well, I'm joined here by Ennis, and of course you're the personal assistant of Rudy.
I sure am. I've been actually with Rudy since February.
And how's it been? What sort of roles do you do? What do you play?
The Zodiac art was actually formulated about 2 years ago. It was actually 2 years in the making. I actually came in along with Rudy just as he was actually launching it. So for me, it's just such a great expression of fine art. My background's actually fine art, so I can relate to what is actually done with the images. And I think that worked really great visually. This is a passion of his that he's wanted to pursue for a while.
Now, I didn't go to bed. We didn't go to bed because we thought we would get up. So we stayed out clubbing all night.
Wise move.
And here we are, happy to be here to present to you what is, I'd have to say, an icon of the Melbourne market world. It's not the South Melbourne market, it's not the Pram market, not even the Vicky market. The Camberwell Sunday market. Just check it out.
What a better thing to do on a Sunday.
CDs! Cheap at the price, only $5. Anything from classical to easy listening to jazz to rock and roll to soul funk. No dance. What's that?
You charging admission or?
Actually, the market wouldn't be here without the Rotary Club. Rotary Club of Balwyn started the market in 1976.
Wow.
1976. So
did you start then as well, or?
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah. I'm old enough to have been around in 1976. Paul and myself are now working on the gate. We collect the donations, 50 cents to enter the market. And we're here, we're rostered on, but there's someone here every Sunday.
And how successful has this market been? Obviously hugely, because it's been going for so many years. Is there good days or bad days?
There are good days and bad days, obviously, but well, today should be a good day. We're fortunate to have fine weather, but over the years we've collected in excess of $5 million.
Fantastic. And what have you bought? Have you bought anything in the market yourself?
Personally, no.
No? Never had a scrummage yourself?
Always been too busy.
I'm like getting these boxes out of the car, and before we'd even unpack the boxes, there are people with torches going through our boxes trying to pull it out. I'll give you $1 for this.
Yeah? How early in the morning was this?
This is at about 6:15.
I've heard that. I've heard that very same story, that people are so into bargain hunting, they're basically getting the stuff out of the car before you even have got it out yourself.
They're all standing around our car with their torches, and we hadn't even decided what was actually going out for a sale, and they're pulling out, club locks and stuff,
Now, for those who are intending on maybe getting a stall here, have you got any tips for potential stall holders? Having been successful stall holders yourself?
Actually, throw like a party on your site. That's what we do.
Really? Get a DJ, some chopper chops.
Just make your own DJ. They're very close, sort of. We bought them the big stereo system and just get everyone around your store.
Oh, what about offering maybe some coffees and stuff?
I reckon that.
Yeah, some added value.
Yeah, I reckon that too.
I want to sell something. What do I need? Actually, I'm going to sell Jacqueline. So I need a table and I need a spot. What do I do?
All you do is come here with a driver's license and a security bond of $20, and I take your details and I hire the goods out to you.
Fantastic. And you can bring your own tables and stuff if you want to?
Yeah, if you want to. That's your own preference, but if for convenience-wise, it's easier to come here and grab a table and a clothes rack.
So how much does it cost to actually have a stand?
To actually have a stand here is, I think it's about $37.
$37? I'm never going to make my money then if I just sell one item. I mean, she's not worth that much. And how many people come back every time?
Well, quite a few actually. It's a very busy market, so no, I think most people do quite well here.
How many tables do you sell in a day?
We've got here probably close to 120 tables.
And that's an empty crate, just about.
Virtually, yeah, we've virtually sold out today.
So that's a good day then.
Yeah,
what happens if you sell out?
If we run out of stock, we've got a factory and we can actually go back and grab some more stuff.
There you go, always back up.
Steve, you know when my car got broken into and all my stuff got nicked out the boot? I swear, they're my pants. I'm not paying for them, I'm taking them. And that's my shirt as well. Oh my God, and
What's the light switch? Can someone turn out the lights? Hello?
We decided to stay indoors the rest of the show because it's bloody freezing outside. So well, at least we'll conduct one interview inside. And why not? We're here at Cafe Lavazza. It's a cafe where you can have a coffee and a muffin. How many coffees would you sell to the stallholders out there? Because you get takeaways, can't you?
Yeah, you can get anything you like takeaway, yeah. As in how many? Oh, God. I don't know, about 500 or so.
So do you think it's 500?
Oh, easy.
In the morning?
Oh, yeah.
That's a phenomenal amount of coffee.
It is a lot, but we have the best coffee in Camberwell.
Okay, I'm sure you do. Now, I'm just wondering, why is the Camberwell market, the Sunday morning market, such an iconic part of Melbourne culture?
Well, I believe it's the most established of all these flea markets, if we can call them that.
Flea market?
I like to call it that, but it did start as a flea market with only a few wholesalers, but it's been here for 20 odd years in this particular spot, which is an amazing thing in itself with all these council regulations. Now, it's really hard to have anything so long-standing. It's and of course Camberwell itself is an old and established area. People come from everywhere, like Olinda, Dandenong. It's not irregular for them to come. We call them, they step over the fence. They love it. It's and on a beautiful morning they do come down. They love it. You can get anything from jewellery to it's an incredible thing.
We've got jewellery, pearl necklace. How much for the pearl necklace?
But different price. You know, this one is $50.
$50? Yeah. That's real pearl then?
It's a freshwater pearl.
Fresh water?
Yeah, freshwater pearl.
And they're different to see?
Different, yeah.
What, a bit less salty?
But people, they like to see pearl.
Okay.
Some people just don't know a bargain when they see it.
Plastic.
No, it's not. It's real. It's real. Bite it. Steve, you missed my... Oh, you've got to get down here. The Camberwell Sunday morning market's fantastic. Opens at 7 a.m. You've got a couple of hours. Get on down. Okay. Oh, Steve, it's for you.
A shopper of all shoppers, Jeremy here. You are been bargain hunting. Look at this. Did you even buy the case here?
No, but I've got 5 bags in someone's car as well.
Already today?
Yeah, so I've done a lot. That's only...
Obviously you're not shopping for yourself.
No.
So what's your key ambition here?
I've got a shop, so I shop for other people. I don't actually think I've found anything for myself at all.
So you shop for other people? Who's this for?
I don't know yet. Somebody.
What do you look for when you're shopping?
Just really good things.
Any particular period or?
Yeah, it has to be sort of from the 80s to maybe the 20s. Not that you find much 20s stuff. But
and then how much did you pay for something like this?
I think it was $4.
$4? Okay, and then you're going to resell it. How much will you resell it for?
It's a secret.
Oh, it's a secret. What's your markup? What's your profit markup?
Usually about, 3-4 times.
4 times? And you'll get like $12 or something for that?
It sells though.
Yeah, and if it doesn't?
Then
$5 and call it a day, or?
No, if it doesn't sell, we donate it back to op shops.
Oh really? Yeah. No, that's recyclable friendly. That's a great option.
That dog has got almost a matching pearl necklace to me. Look at this, look at this. Look, there's already similarities here.
You're the sax player of all sax players.
Oh, I played with Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Shirley Bassey.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
And you're doing the markets now?
Well, I'm 87.
87, holding up well. And how long have you been playing the sax for?
Since 1928.
1928. And what's your favourite sax tune? Does this one make people buy? You know, get in the spending mood?
Might get some more eyes, perhaps.
I was here at 6 o'clock this morning, or about 5:45. Why is that? Well, the best bargains are usually had at that time, and as anyone worth their salt knows, I mean, what usually happens, people will buy off other stalls and then resell them, so you're getting them at the best price if you get there first. And I've bought some fantastic things this morning.
Well, you've gone away empty-handed. I don't know, scarf, jacket, what?
My car's full already, and I'm probably running out of money, and I don't think it's even 7:30.
So what did you buy this morning?
I bought 2 original oil paintings that were very good value actually, and I'm still debating on whether to buy a Thea Proctor print signed by Thea Proctor, but I don't know. I'm not sure about that. It'll probably go by the time I think about it. I bought china. I bought bathroom accessories, and I was about to buy a lot of new accessories for my bathroom at a great expense, and I've pretty well got what I've needed here for under $10.
What was I thinking? I thought it was cold, it's early. I forgot shopping.
How much is this contraption?
25.
25 bucks? It's one of those things you have in the house for about 2 weeks and then you're over it. And we've got to try. And you can try before you buy, yeah? You know, you ever watch those infomercial commercials? Well, here it's off the butt. Lovely. That's picking up exercises. What's that noise? I want it 20 bucks. What else can you do on this thing?
I don't know.
What did you use it for?
Torso tickle.
It didn't work.
I'm leaving the country. I need to get rid of it.
Oh, okay.
Going off. There's people milling around everywhere buying things. It's a complete and utter buying frenzy.
How much are these? Price check, please. $40 off for 40 bucks.
Money is exchanging hands as we speak. A very happy shopper. Here we go. Satisfied customer. Satisfied customer. Over here at this stand. Sorry. Hi. Oh, hi. Morning, how are you? I'm Jacqueline. Steve. Now I have to say, your stall is like money just flying backwards and forwards. People are just buying things. They're happy.
It's all interesting things, you see.
Yeah, what are you selling?
They're all collectibles. There's tools and there's things made out of...
So you've got a flag there. Is that an American flag? The Stars and Stripes on a bench there. Where did that come from?
Well, I bought it at another market.
Did you?
Yeah, a long time ago. I've had
Yeah.
it a few years. But it's all sewn, as you can see. It's all stitched.
It's beautiful.
I just don't like it hits that post there. That's not really good.
You're just browsing or you're going to buy that? It's not a library.
Now on MELfeed Video, here are the latest Monday Tats Lotto results just drawn a short time ago under government supervision. All results shown are subject to confirmation. We hope that these numbers brought you a little bit of luck tonight. If not, there's always next week. Stay tuned to MELfeed Video for more great programs this evening. Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The three major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help them. Join the Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do, 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global and acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable.
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much more.
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say, "G'day, you got a friend."
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard, but the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. You know, I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
More members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
For interesting and informative interviews, join us for NAT Chat Monday nights at 8. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
farewell one. It's the farewell one.
Next stop is Harbourside Station. Alight here for Harbourside shops and restaurants and the Australian National Maritime Museum.
Has like on the cruise boat.
Yeah.
It's just a boat. Yeah. Was it ever ready?
This stop is Harbourside Station.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
Okay, Sarah, I'm going to order some pathology tests to see how everything's going.
Half the Australian population had a pathology test last year. That's you or someone you love. 100 tests are performed every minute, delivering vital medical information. From the moment you are born, your healthcare depends on pathology tests. 70% of medical decisions rely on information from pathology tests. Pathology is the engine room of healthcare. One small sample can reveal millions of insights all about you. Pathologists are your doctor's doctor. 25,000 people work to provide doctors with the answers they need to treat you. Australian pathology is world class. We may never meet you, but we see each of you as part of our family. Every minute, 23 Australians find out more about their health.
Good news, Sarah. The results show that everything's okay.
Pathology provides peace of mind.
I rely on Australian pathology.
Sign up online to support Australian pathology.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash. Maybe even from heart disease. Maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed Video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Monday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You're welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us here at MELfeed Video, we wish you a very good night.
Bye.